So, house cleaning, highly and humbly merchandise, super comfortable, super casual. This is the Faith Over Fear biker shorts. This is the Faith Over Fear sweatshirt, available in the Highly and Humbly shop. Links all below. Don't forget, if you want to do all things highly and humbly, go to www.highlyandhumbly.nyc and sign up so you get to know about all the cool things we're doing over there in the Highly and Humbly community. I wanted to do something fun and different, and so we're doing a Christian Reacts. And so the hot thing right now is Bridgerton. And FYI, if you haven't seen it already, stop, don't watch it. I'm gonna give a lot of spoilers away. And I just wanted to kind of do this kind of like Christians React. This is something I've been interested in doing for a little while. Just because like as Christians we have a different perspective of a lot of things, and we get to enjoy pop culture, but we have to be able to put it in perspective in accordance with our values, with our morals, and with our what we aspire to be. But Bridgerton specifically was super interesting to me, and I kind of wanted to dive into that and talk a little bit about that. So let's get into it. All right, so let's dive into it. So Bridgerton is based off of a series of books from the early 2000s by Julia Quinn. And Bridgerton, the season 1 is based off of the first book, The Duke and I. So first of all, I love Regency era period pieces. Like, oh my God, Pride and Prejudice, anyone, like, I adore it. And honestly, I love Bridgerton, like overall, like holistically, I think it was like so fun, so entertaining. It was just a good watch, and it was fun, and it was like, I'm a sap for a good rom-com, and that's exactly what Bridgerton is. And I also know that the reason why I'm super into the Regency era, and I've been since I was like a teen and a preteen, specifically is because of the content. And so if you grew up in a Christian home, so a major plot point is that the main character, Daphne, basically doesn't know how sex works. And so it becomes a point of contention in her marriage to the Duke. And so I think it's super interesting though, because that's kind of the experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but like that's part of the experience growing up in kind of like a Christian household. There's a scene where Daphne's sister Eloise walks in, and she's like, how does one become with child? And it's like super funny because her mom shuts it down immediately. Like, that's inappropriate conversation. And she goes over and she's joking and laughing with her brothers. And her brother makes like this offhanded comment about going to go play with his stick. And so, but I remember like growing up in church, that really is the reality for a lot of people. And even, I'm still on Tumblr, don't judge me. I mean, I don't care if you do. But I'm on Tumblr, and even there's a lot of like, blog posts trying to educate children and young adults and teens about sex. And so I think that like culturally, as like open as we are about like sex and sexuality, on a very basic level, people have very simple questions about sex. And I know growing up in church, that was something that like kids kind of bonded over. The fact that not just bonded over, but like we went out of our way to find out things about sex. And I learned a lot about sex reading Regency era novels, and so a lot of it related to me specifically because these women in this time period had the same kind of struggle. They would try to ask these questions, they were trying to figure these things out, but nobody really would give them a straight answer until they had to kind of find it out like firsthand on their own. And as one of the things like moving forward, maybe I'll talk a little bit about like sex more often on the channel if you guys want. I'm definitely gonna do another couple of series just about like sex and Christianity, and like how we really do need to demystify what sex and faith look like. Because I feel like if people are more open and honest with that conversation, then we would have a lot less like mistakes, heartbreak, and just like ill-informed decisions. Like, and I know I feel that I had a more open family, I guess, in terms of just like conversations I was able to have with like the adults in my life. But even then, I feel that a lot of those conversations didn't happen until after I already found out some of this stuff on my own. And sometimes it was because of like real life experience. Sometimes it was through book, movies, TVs. But I feel like if we're having more open and honest conversations with our kids, whether you're in the church or not, about what sex is, then maybe they'll be able to make healthier and more responsible decisions moving forward. And that's just my 2 cents. Now, another thing that I liked about Bridgerton was that, again, it's like this kind of like, it's almost like a whirlwind romance, but not really. Again, I'm a super sad, I love good romance, and I think that that kind of trope about like enemies to lovers kind of thing is always fun to watch play out on screen. I do have a sister, she made a really good point. Like she doesn't really like storylines that a character says explicitly at the beginning of like the courtship that they don't like a certain thing, and then like eventually they kind of grow to like that thing they said they never liked. And again, if we're talking about Bridgerton specifically, so what ended up happening was he said he would never get married, and then he ultimately ends up getting married. He said he would never have kids, ultimately ends up having kids, and like it sets an unrealistic expectation of what happens in real life. In real life, and honestly, I do believe that it can happen, that somebody does kind of set the expectation of your life based off of bad experiences, and then they experience things in a better light with a better kind of point of view, and then they grow to love the thing that they said they would hate. But even if the person is wrong in the decisions that they're making, I don't think, and I kind of agree with my sister on this, that it resolves the way it did in Bridgerton specifically. And so even if eventually the Duke, aka Simon, decided that he was going to get married and have kids, it kind of like puts in this like neat little bow over like a 7-episode arc where like he kind of falls in love with her, and then almost dies for her, and then like, you know, marries her and has her babies and lets her have his babies. It's like that excuse me, that often, if ever, is the reality for people. Again, it's entertainment, it is meant to like make you feel good and entertain you and all of these things. But again, a lot of people kind of use this form of entertainment as like a stepping stone or as a basis for how they draw conclusions about life. And if that be the case, this is not one of those shows to do that on. I'm entertained, but I also have my own life experience to kind of balance out the entertainment that I'm watching and to be able to have more realistic expectations because I've experienced life. But it was fun to watch. It was super fun to watch. I also want to give like a disclaimer here. Like if you struggle with sexual morality at all, I wouldn't suggest you to watch it. There are some there's a whole episode really based off of like just like really heavy sex scenes, and it's pretty intense. It's not really softcore porn, but again, if it's something you struggle with as a Christian, or if you're trying to be abstinent, or you just don't need those kind of images in your head, I wouldn't suggest you watch it. But it was really like overall, I love the story. It was fun to watch. I actually also want to touch on the fact that because there's a scene where she's like trying to get him to talk about like what sex is because she's completely clueless. And he's like, he says like it's like a continuation of what happens at night. And she's like, when I'm sleeping. And so it was really funny to me because he's a man in this society, right? And he's a single man, you know, in this society, but still the expectation and the opportunity for knowledge, even in this very specific setting, was very different because he assumed she knew what masturbation was, and she didn't. Like he's like, at night when it's dark and nobody's watching, and she's like, yeah, I'm sleeping. And he's like, no, you could touch yourself. And it's like, what? It's very, again, like they're living in the same time period, but like it's like they're living 2 different lives. And I feel like, again, if you grew up in Christianity, that's very real. Like you have, everybody kind of has, and even the adults around you, because Daphne at some point even tries to ask her mom, like even like right before her wedding night, she's like, what should I expect? And her mom was like, oh, it just feels nice and it'll be fun and don't worry about it. And it's like, no, like people have real questions. You got to answer them honestly, so they're not like like, what's the word I'm looking for? Completely blindsided by the reality of like love and sex and marriage. Ugh. And again, it's 2020 and like, you know, information is available, but if you grow up in a very sheltered kind of environment, you don't learn these things until like you're faced with them a lot of the time. And so it was just really good. It was fun to watch, but I related to it specifically for those reasons, because I remember like the first time a boy like touched me, and I'm not just inappropriately, but just like I think he like maybe he like touched the back of my neck, or like gave me a hug that was a little bit too long. The first time those things happen, and if you haven't had like an honest conversation with like the adults in your life, you are confused, okay? Like phrases like you know, your body is on fire and you literally, or you know, like you feel like you need to change your underwear and you literally don't know what to do. And I feel like watching Daphne kind of go through that process kind of just really reminded me of that. Reminded me of like all of my first in terms of like sex and sexuality as somebody who grew up a Christian. Somebody who grew up in church with very strict rules. Like again, we weren't allowed to date growing up. We weren't allowed to be alone with the opposite sex growing up. Very much like the Bridgerton. Like, oh my God, it wasn't like ruined, obviously, because I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. But it was just like, it was like you did get a side eye if you came out of a back room with a boy and it was just y'all two back there. Like, it was a little weird. Not weird, but like, you know. And if you didn't know why it was weird, then again, you were confused and you were trying to figure out what was the inside joke that everybody knew that you didn't. And I know also growing up in church, you kind of make up stuff because to make up the difference between in the knowledge. And again, like there are a lot of things that I found out later on in life that could have been avoided if somebody would have had an honest conversation with me about sex at any point. Like as I got older, I was able to like Google and like read books and stuff like that. And again, I believe in like the biblical precedent for sex and love and marriage. God only wants us to have sex with our husband or our wives, and I believe that. I did not uphold that standard myself, but I strive to be better every day. But I think that I would have been able to make better decisions or better informed decisions if I had had more honest and specific really conversations around and regarding sex. And I've kind of like, I know a couple of people kind of laughed about like her naivety in the situation, but I was definitely that girl that was just didn't know what to say, what to do, or what was going on when I was kind of encountered with these decisions and these scenarios. And again, didn't know a lot until I was encountered with different situations and scenarios. And I could do a whole other video on sex and Christianity if you guys want. Just let me know in the comments below. But Bridgerton, I don't know, did we rate it? I don't know. I liked it. I liked it. It was fun to watch overall. And I'll watch it again. And I probably will. I'm looking forward to season 2. I think his name is Renee. It's very cute. It's very fun to watch. I think all the characters did a really good job. All the actors did a really good job in portraying the characters. I stand Lady Danbury. Lady Danbury, yeah. Lady Danbury, love her. Love me a strong black woman, okay? And every time she was on screen, enraptured. Lady freaking Danbury. When she is coming, when they're going to the Queen to be able to grant them permission to get married, and the Queen is like, any lower, Lady Danbury? And she's like, you know, not on these knees, like, Queen, okay? I know she was standing across from the Queen, but Lady Danbury is royalty in and of herself, and I stand her and I love her. And that's my Bridgerton rant. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications for the Highly and Humbly YouTube channel or Enigma the Author YouTube channel. You can shop the Faith Over Fear merchandise in the link below. And I want you guys to remember to be great, stay humble, and until next time. Hey believers, are you looking for faith-based community and curated Christian content? My name is Enigma the Author, and I run Highly and Humbly NYC. Highly Humbly NYC is a Christian lifestyle community that focuses on connecting the Christ you love to the life you live through community, apparel, and so much more. When you visit the Highly and Humbly website, you'll see lifestyle blogs, community forums, interactive Bible trivia, and so much Christian content that's designed to strengthen and encourage the everyday believer. So sign up today for exclusive access, and don't forget to be great and to stay humble.